This game was released when the video game market was in transition. Sega had just released the Saturn, and the hype surrounding the Sony PlayStation was beginning to build. The Genesis was fading out of the picture, so when Light Crusader was released for it, nobody noticed. But part of being a retro gamer means taking a look at games that got missed, and that's what I'm gonna do today. This is an action RPG, where you play the role of a seasoned warrior. He's been called upon by the king to figure out why people in the town are disappearing. Everything takes place in an isometric view, and with that comes the usual problem of not being able to land your jumps exactly where you need to, since it's hard to judge distances. Even though the manual admits to this problem, it's not that much of an issue. There are shadows coming from both you and the scenery, which help out a little bit. And if you do miss a jump, it's not going to result in death. You just keep trying to jump until you get it. There are 8 directions in which you can move, and walking directly left or right gives you a boost of speed. When you do this though, the screen gets all jittery for some reason. Fighting in the game works quite well. When making attacks, you have to keep in mind what direction the enemies are facing, and make constant adjustments as they turn. If you get too impatient, you can jump and dive into the enemy, which looks hilarious, but it's very effective. The magic spells you cast are based on the 4 elements. By activating different combinations of the 4, you can do different things. In all, there are 15 different combinations. The main thing you do in the game, though, is solve puzzles. You come across them so often, it's appropriate to classify this game as a puzzle RPG. That isn't a bad thing though. The puzzles will really test your brain, and they're fun to solve. When you leave the room, the puzzles reset themselves, which is good if you screwed something up and need to start over. However, many puzzles reset even if you've already completed them. This means that if you're backtracking through the dungeon, you may have to solve some of the same puzzles over and over again, which can make the game tedious at times. As an RPG, Light Crusader doesn't have much depth. The storyline is paper thin, and it doesn't have much of a climax. There's only one city, which doesn't even have much going on in it. Also, the entire adventure is about 7 hours long. There's only one dungeon too, but it does consist of many sizable floors. There's a ton of items to find, but the majority of them are food items, which all do pretty much the same thing, fill your health. Even though the game isn't as big as I would like it to be, I have no complaints about the graphics. The isometric bosses really look cool. And when you push objects around, it happens very smoothly. You can even push people around, though it serves no purpose. I'm not sure why the programmers decided to make the guy sway when he's not walking. It definitely looks like a humping motion, which makes for some interesting interactions with the townspeople. Anyway, the game has a wide variety of music, ranging from gloomy to cheerful sounding. It's not the best soundtrack to come out of a 16-bit RPG, but it's still enjoyable. I wish the music didn't change so often though. Different rooms have different tunes, so if you're traveling fast, you almost never hear any tune in its entirety. As far as difficulty, I didn't die once playing the game, and I'm far from being a professional gamer. The puzzles were challenging though, they just don't result in death if you fail to solve them. If all the RPGs of the world were on a menu, Light Crusader would be in the appetizer section. It's tasty, but it won't fill you up. The developers needed to put more work into the game. Regardless of its size, I think fans of 16-bit RPGs will enjoy it.